What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now, I'd like to give you guys my review of the new movie Sky Sharks. And it's really bad. But there is some redeeming stuff to this, all right? Not much, mind you, but there's a little bit of redeeming stuff to this. Let's talk about kind of what it is first. So Sky Sharks, honestly, when you watch the trailer and when you hear the premise, you kind of think it's going to be one of those like Sharknado type movies, right? Just the ridiculous, like Sand Sharks, the ridiculous shark movies, House Shark, Shark Exorcist, or whatever these movies are, Santa Jaws, just these ridiculous shark movies. And that's not really what we're getting here. There are sharks in it, but it's not really about the sharks. What it's more about is about Nazi zombies. Those are the antagonists of the film, is your Nazi zombies. And in some ways, honestly, in a lot of ways, this actually felt like a sequel to Iron Sky. Now, I know that Iron Sky recently had a sequel. Iron Sky, what is it? Iron Sky, the Coming Race. Iron Sky, the Coming Race. And the first Iron Sky wasn't really good, let's be honest. But it had this it had like a uniqueness to it. It was just so absurd. It was so absurd, and you found it somewhat watchable in its absurdity. The sequel, I never watched the sequel. I heard it was awful, but honestly, this movie felt that like an Iron Sky sequel. It had the same kind of aesthetic. It had the same kind of crazy Nazi zombie plot points. And this movie, I mean, it starts off with a bang. All right, it starts off with a bang. You've got a plane that's flying through the sky, and we are introduced to all the passengers, or at least a lot of the main passengers, and quickly. Now, I say quickly. They actually, in my opinion, spend a little bit too much time on this plane, given the fact that none of them survive. But relatively quickly, the sharks fly in, being ridden by Nazi zombies. And they literally board the plane and dispatch the plane full of people in an incredibly gory but somewhat cartoonish manner. All right, the gore is over the top. And that's the truth for the entire film. From beginning to end, anytime that you've got the opportunity for gore, it's there and it's over the top. And in fact, it's handled in such a way that it's not scary. It's not even really revolting. It's just it's like remember those old anybody ever watch Tales from the Crypt? Some of those cartoons, some of those animated sequences they would show that would be like very gory, but it was fine because it was all animated. That's kind of how this felt. Like, you didn't flinch because it was so ridiculous, so absurd, and so over the top that you knew it couldn't possibly be real. Even the effects didn't look good. It was just a lot. So if you're a fan of like splatter gore, there's a lot of it in this movie, and I typically don't care for splatter gore films. I like slasher films. I like films that rely on tension more than bathing the camera red, and it just didn't bother me in this movie. I didn't flinch. In fact, I was kind of amused by it. I was laughing. It was just so silly. But they do go for it. I mean, like in that opening sequence, they kill everybody. And I mean, there's kids on the plane, and they kill everybody. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The sharks flying through the sky. It's totally absurd. And it's got a bit of novelty initially, but I'll tell you the novelty in this film wears off, and it wears off quick, because this absurd premise, it might have been good for like a short, right? Like a 10-minute short that's released online, and they tried to stretch it out to this, hour and 40-minute movie, and eventually the absurdity catches up with it, and you just get kind of tired of watching the absurdity. But after that initial plane crash or plane attack, we meet another team in I think it's the Himalayas. I don't know, somewhere really cold. And this team is all dispatched except for one survivor. She gets infected with the zombie virus, and then the rest of the movie is basically flashbacks, talking about how these Nazis got zombified, and kind of this super soldier program where they were trying to create a super soldier, and how it kind of went wrong and kind of infected this whole group of Nazi soldiers. I might have missed it, but I never really found out how they incorporated sharks into what they were doing. But the sharks did bring about a bit of fun. I mean, there's a point where they catch this girl, and the Nazi zombie literally holds her upside down over a pool of sharks swimming, and the sharks just kind of come up and bite her, and there's no laws of physics here. It's just the cartoon shark jumps up, and then there's a cartoon chunk taken out of the body. Yeah, it's really ridiculous, guys. Now I will say this: there's also a lot of practical effects, especially as far as like zombie makeup is concerned, and the practical effects look really, really good. Until you get to the point where they start, like, there's a few points where they try to use practical effects in some of the killings, and a lot of those look really bad. I mean, to the point where some of the like blood spurt, you can tell it's just coming out of a tube. there's a tube, and you can tell it's just squirting the red water out. Yeah, this movie was very silly, it was very fast paced, but it was very silly and didn't have a lot of redeeming quality to it. The special effects were extremely spotty, especially with the sharks, especially when you saw them flying and you saw the airplanes. I mean, there's actually points in the movie where you could tell it was being filmed on a green screen because things were transparent. That's not really what you want to see in any. I mean, this is 2021. It's 2021. We can make movies now, and even the low budget movies should not have transparency in their green screen. I mean, this is a technology that fans use on fan films. We don't need a production having transparency issues on the green screen. Yeah, that didn't really work for me. There was a lot of celebrity cameos in this. I've made kind of a little list of some of the celebrity cameos. That was kind of fun. Let me see if I can find it. So you had, let's see here. You had Carrie Tagawa, the guy who plays Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. He's early in the movie. He plays like an alcoholic on a plane. Just this on the first plane. Just this really awful guy. Tony Todd, he's in it. He actually pops up several times throughout the movie. Let's see, Yan Birch from The People Under the Stairs. Let's see, Lar Park Lincoln from Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. She has a role in this movie as well. So yeah, it was nice seeing her pop up. Excuse me. It was nice seeing her pop up because obviously I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th movies. So that was cool. But overall, guys, I mean, this movie just really didn't have any redeeming qualities. It was just, I remember, like, I like B movies, and when I was looking at, do I rent it or buy it? It's $3.99 to rent. It's $9.99 to buy. And usually, honestly, I err towards buying. I'm like, well, it's only a few more dollars to buy it, and then I have it. So usually I just buy it. This time I didn't. I rented it. And I'm glad that I did, because this is one that I'm not going to revisit. It was just awful. There was actually some points in the movie where I was like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this? And I'm telling you that unless you're just a fan of over the top, unrealistic, cartoonish looking gore, or if you thought Iron Sky was one of the best movies ever made. Those are kind of the two scenarios where this movie's for you. You're a fan of cartoonish, over-the-top, non-realistic looking gore, or you thought Iron Sky was a cinematic masterpiece. If you're one of those two people, this movie you're going to get some enjoyment out of. If you're not one of those two people, you're going to like be embarrassed admitting that you watched it. There's nothing here. There's nothing here to enjoy other than some fleeting moments of whoa. Other than that, there's nothing. So for me, I give Sky Sharks, I give it a D minus. Some of the use of practical effects, so the over the top nature of it, kind of the freneticness of it, that's going to keep it from getting a failing grade, but it did not do well. So D minus. But that being said, I'm just one dude. What did you think of Sky Sharks? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. I'd love to have a conversation about it. While you're down there, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure that you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the OQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.